Hey everyone, Temporal here, and for this session we are reviewing a diamond, about 3400 Reinhardt. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, all of that good stuff.
I can't promise you'll walk away this time. Nor can I.
Okay, how's our Reinhardt doing? There we go.
I need help.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attacker incoming. Defend objective A.
So we're set up with Zarya as our off tank. We do have an Ana. Mercy doesn't help us a ton, but we can work with it. Reasonable fire strike. Ooh, but that's an unreasonable delay. So this is fine. We see this. Our Doomfist already went in, and it's very likely our Doomfist got the bubble that we'd usually like, so we have to recognize that we don't have that. But our Doomfist going in does mean that we want to use this time. Like, he is taking our job potentially as the initiator. He took our job, man. But we do want to follow up on that. We do want to go, hey, he's doing this. So we either want to push in and go, hey, maybe I'm going to swing into that Reinhardt in the back. Maybe I'm going to see that I think I have an opening and I'm going to pin him into this type thing. Those could be options, but we are going to use this either to push in or to rotate. We might go, nope, he's enough of a distraction, and the plan was actually that our team was going to rotate through here, and that's fine, or the plan is we're going to push. I don't really care, but he did this. We're going to want to use this. We're not going to want to just chill here. You're chilling like you're stabilizing, like you're scouting, like you're figuring out what's going to happen. No, the scout phase is over. Maybe you guys skipped the scout phase, but the scout phase is over. He went in. You have to do something with him going in. Or you can do nothing. If you choose to do nothing, that's fine. You can go, hey, this is an energy cycle phase. I threw my fire strike in. My Zarya gave him a bubble. He went in hard with it. We think he's going to survive because I supported with a fire strike. He had support from the bubble, whatever. But we're not actually going to rotate, and I'm going to go on the next Zarya bubble. That's fine too, but we don't really want to stand here and give them shield if what we're doing is going in on the next one. And that's not what you're doing. You're choosing to go in, but you're going in late here, so that's not great. Hey, Matthew. Ah, you're Pascal. Okay. Okay.
Get behind me.
I don't really think I want to push this quite yet. Like, you just saw where your backline was. That's a touch early. Your Ana's not quite where you want them, sure, though she's very close. Your Genji isn't quite where you want them. Your Doomfist just used abilities to get up here. Like, I probably wanted to wait one more second before I rounded this corner and pushed. But okay, maybe you're prioritizing your Zarya's bubble. Huh. Yeah, like, you see that. And you push now. You're rounding the corner knowing that, like, your Ana, when you round to the corner, is like here. She's not going to be able to see you unless she continues to swing wide with you. It's not amazing. It's not amazing. Why did you fire strike? We're not going to fire strike here. No, 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 no. If we're not pushing, we could fire strike right here. This could be a fire strike. And then we go back behind cover. If we're pushing forward like this, though, we're not fire striking. If we're pushing forward like this, it's to take space. So we put our shield up until we're close enough to swing, and we swing. If we're thinking, hey, I'm Zarya bubbled, so I'll fire strike, that's one thing. But you're clearly not. So, like, no, don't do this. And now you're backing. But if all you wanted was the fire strike, again, start your fire strike, peek, throw it, hide your unwind animation. So many videos today. We're trying. Part of it is that I will have a lull over the weekend. I'm going to a friend's wedding, so I will have a lull over the weekend. So I'm trying to load you guys up on content now. But I also think I'm going to be upping the content or the amount that I put into this a little bit over what I've done for like the last month or so, where we were a little quieter than normal. No problem with a lot of videos. Happy to hear it. Eh. Good punish.
On the objective.
My ultimate is charging.
I could use a hand.
Sure.
Hello there.
I'm on fire! My ultimate is charging.
Right there.
New defense
So you go here. Your engagement timing is forced instead of by Doomfist, this time by Zarya, so be it. You cancel into a shield immediately? No, you don't. You hear that shatter going down and you continue swinging. Okay. I mean, you're just wrong on where he's going. You don't know the geometry and you've got nothing to shatter now. Okay. Oh, that works out nicely. Better than I thought you were going to get. Why does your shield go down? Like, I get it. It's scary. And yes, his Fire Strike is going to take you down when it hits you. His Fire Strike is going to take it down when it hits you, but, like, your shield should be up. Like, for any breath and a prayer, why is your shield down? Why is your shield down? No. 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 Need more videos. Temporal should do a 24-hour marathon stream. That's so not healthy. And raise money to support scarves everywhere. Yeah, it would be rough. It would be rough to do 24 hours. Okay, you're helping your team rotate out, so be it. Good. You go down, so be it. That's fine. That was a reasonable idea. Also, on average, Temporal does about 3 videos a day. Yeah, I try to make 3 the minimum. There's been a couple days where I've only done 2, but I try to make 3 my general minimum. But I've been playing at the minimum for a month or 2. So we're trying to up that a little bit, see more 4 and 5 video days, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so here you are. You're pushing up here. You have your team here. You want to rotate up. I'm not really worried about that. Why are you fire striking here? You have 79 HP, and you think, like, it's a good idea to fire strike here? I'm okay without doing that. Like, it's true no one's really going to hurt you. Maybe you're hyper aware of exactly who can peek you and who can't right now. But, like, I'm worried that this is just a habit, and I don't like this. I have the stats to show that. I believe you, Blah. Okay, you're trying to take your angle, sure. Charge your shield. You're done. You're done. This is all you needed to do. You would like to stabilize some shield before you go in. You went for a fire strike that was kind of meh. In exchange, you got scared because your health got to half, so you threw your shield up, which is now stopping your shield from charging. This is delaying your push. That fire strike delayed your push. Now you just want to push. You don't need the fire strike, you can just push. If you want a fire strike because you really want to have that shadow, it's fine with me. But, good. Okay? Why are you so scared? You push here. You pull back for a moment. Cool, that's fine. You go up for your swing. Now you're stuck because you don't have your Zarya bubble, because you really misused your Zarya bubble, and now you're going to go down. Again, like, we look at this. You don't have the Doomfist anymore, so you should expect to get the bubble. You push forward here, and you, like, get scared. Was this just a ward him off thing? Like, you can push if you're expecting the Zarya bubble, and you should be tracking your Zarya's cooldown. So, like, you should be expecting the bubble. You expect your team to push with you because you waited to gather up your whole team here. Yeah, push into this. I get that you're scared. You're scared to push into this because these guys are holding the off angle. But, like, your team is going to be shooting at these guys. Your backline does keep the sight line to force these guys out. We just backed off a little bit. And I know, like, I've been tough on you. I've been some like, hey, this is a 1 second difference. I've been, hey, why aren't you getting the one extra swing out of this bubble? I'm being tough on you, but you spend time as much time in Masters as you do in Diamond. You can handle me being tough on you. Yeah, and this is what happens when you do your aggression after the bubble. It's still right to have done this extra aggression, but like now you're purple and you have to hard shield and you have to go right, but the Tor Bolt. Yeah. And this may feel like, hey, you got shut down by Grav, then you got shut down by Torbolt. Like, you know, these things are fine to get shut down. You got shut down by, like, your team was out of position and you tried to do a pin play. Like, those things happen, but you have to make the most of the opportunities between by getting your swings just right type thing. Getting exactly as much aggression as you can get. We had Shadow was trying to bait it. Or he had Shadow was trying to bait it. What was your bait? That you took one step forward and swung back? Like, he wasn't going to let you bait Shatter. You had Zarya bubble available to you. Like, even if you mess up, Zarya gets to bail you out. He doesn't want to shatter you there. He wants to hold his shatter a bit longer until a little longer in the fight. That's just how that's going to be. Like, you have to put yourself in his shoes, and in his shoes, he's thinking about this from his perspective, where he's like, hey, I don't really want to shatter you until your backline drops, and I can get a few more people. I don't want to shatter you when, if I shatter you, there's a decent chance you'll get Zarya bubbled, even if you're doing this, like, swing at me type thing, because it's, you know, early in your thing. And even if you fail to shield for your team, you'll get the Zarya bubble, and you swinging in my face will protect your team relatively well. I don't want to shatter while both Zarya bubbles are available. I don't want to shatter while your team hasn't really dropped to the low ground yet. Like, put yourself in his shoes. He wants to shatter once your team is coming like this, and he's like, shatter like this. Or he wants to shatter out like this, once you've pushed in and he's got his buddies over here to poke into you.
My blade is ready to unleash.
Walk it off.
Had a guy on Winston last night who said, can we get a main tank? I asked him who he thought a main tank was. If not Winston, he said Ryan and Sigma. This game is bad at teaching players. Yeah, I hear you.
Mercy.
They have Carpe on their team. They should do fine. I mean, if we really want to look at pro player names, Carpe is a pro player name, but Pascal is also, well, there's two Pascals and they're spelled differently, one of which is a contenders player, one of which is at a couple times in trials, so semi-pro level, you could call it. So yeah, this team has all of the names on it. Okay. Do you have your team? Yeah, you have your team set up. It'd be nice if Hanzo took an angle, but that's okay. Pascal was the 5th programming language you learned in school. Okay. Sounds good, Mentos Frost. Enjoy it. and never used it since. Well, that's less good. Okay, you hear the Lucio. You're still going to go. Fine. Push them back with swings. You do not want a hard pin right here. And the reason you don't want a hard pin right here is even if you pin him, even if he doesn't get bubbled, you're going to then fall as a result of your pin, and you know that you and Zarya got up the elevator, but it didn't feel to me like you didn't turn around, and it didn't feel to me like anyone else got up the elevator. And turns out they didn't. Mercy can fly a little. Hanzo's now wall climbing, but like you don't have the support really of your Genji, of your Ana, of your Hanzo yet. So like you don't want to do this. You want to go, hey, I group up my team here, pushing in 3, 2, 1. We push, we rotate. You sort of grouped your team up here a little bit. You went up, but only you and Zarya got up. And I could tell that even without looking that only you and Zarya got up. And you're now immediately going for a pin. No, you wanted to drive him back with hammered swings, hammer swings, bubbled hammer swings, etc. And then you stabilize for a moment again just to give your team time to rotate and preferably to recover some shield, recover some HP, and then you push type of thing. You did not want to push here. And if you had to wait up here for a second Zarya bubble, that's fine. Your team is just going to invest this time into forcing this team back behind cover, forcing them out of the open space. Preferably getting resources out of them too. This is too early. Okay, forward. Why are you dancing? You do this. Your Genji's blading. You guys are nano blading. W. You're pressing W. We are not doing this. You see that? You see that? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Not when our Genji is blading. We know that the opponents are going to turn around some of their attention. Yes, the Reinhardt has a decent chance of trying to shatter us to stop us from advancing. And that's a reason that we've got to like already be ready to push our shield button. And if we're holding our shield button, that's fine with me. But that's not a reason to go back and forth. It can be shield button up going forward, or it can be ready to push the shield button, instantly ready, super paying attention to the Reinhardt, ready to push our shield button while swinging going forward. But it can't be we're going to dance back and forth a little bit here. You have Nanoblade and Velt going right now, and you're Rein dancing. Like, ugh, not okay. Not okay. And if you had been advancing instead of this, a couple steps forward, boom, you shatter their shattering Reinhardt type thing. Now that's a little dangerous because he can turn his shatter, but like, sounds good to me. Boom, you hit a shatter here type thing. Like, yeah. We would be good with this. Now, we might not want to hit the shatter because we have Nanoblade and Velt going, but you get the idea. They're throwing beat out there, so fair enough. I was initially moving to left cover, then heard Goji Blade and went forward, but you didn't. That's not what happened. Here's your pin that's too early. It forces you to push early. You're going left. You hear the blade. You were jumping sort of towards cover. You take one more step back. You go right. Then you go left again. Then you go right again. Don't tell me you were going to left cover and then you went forward. No. There were about 4 times that you changed your mind there. Reinhardt is a hero that punishes indecision. He really does. You're allowed to go to enemies that you want to swing at. You're allowed to go to cover. You're allowed to put your shield up if you have enough of it in front of enemies to get back healed up so you can get back to swinging, or you're allowed to go from enemies to cover. You are not allowed to change your mind 4 times. You're doing what you're doing, such as going to cover, until you actively change your mind and decide that you're going to the enemies. There's no, which am I doing? I'm doing the old plan until I decide to do the new plan. That is how Reinhardt works. It's too obvious. It's too obvious when they beat that you want to shatter. Like, that's a normal reaction. So you gotta have a little more. You gotta have a little more from him than just, well, he wants to, because like this game has been played out so much in the Reinhardt metagame of back and forth that like you need a little bit more on him of seeing him actually trying to pressure something rather than just shattering because you see beat.
Activate.
This is why we don't fire strike in the open. Boom. Boom. I agreed the extra swing. You have a You have, what do you call it? You have the Anna plus heal effect on you. You still have armor. Your Mercy's Valking you. This Reinhardt's purple. Yeah, he's not one-shot territory for your hammer swing, but I'm absolutely willing to go for one more hammer swing here. Which you do, and now you have a decision to make. You no longer have armor, and you're taking some damage, but you're getting that sweet, sweet mercy healing, and you've got that amped healing effect from the Anna still, and he's purple in one swing range. You absolutely greed this. You absolutely greed this swing. You try and greed this swing, you potentially flip your screen so that the hammer hits him faster, so that it can hit him and eliminate him, and you can then cancel it into putting your shield back up and flip your screen back, but you absolutely do greed this. Even without armor, you have too much going on in your favor for you to not greed this third swing here. Fourth swing, whatever it is. Or, sorry, wrong Reinhardt. Fortunately, your team gets him anyways. And I don't know why you're backing. Even if you don't greed this swing, you're still staying right up in his face because you're likely to get healed back up more faster than he is, and you really want to be able to finish him. And you have plenty of shield to stay in his face right now. No backup here. No backup. Why are you still backing up? Why are you still backing up? Why are you fire striking in the open? I'm a little less upset about that fire strike because you literally didn't have any shield to play with. Okay. Still not my favorite fire strike. You can take space. Okay, now you can actually push off it. Sweet. Okay. Sure. Pick your cover. You're covering main. Fine. Reinhardt swapped off. You don't have to worry about any shatters. It's fine. Shield. Right idea. Scary chasing her up here when there's a ball in the field. And a Lucio. But Shield. Shield. You're late. Oh no. Oh no. Are they actually going to stabilize this? Oof. We're good. This happens. That's annoying. Your team is still winning this pretty handily. Like, it's annoying, but your team, maybe not pretty handily, but your team is still winning this, and you can grind out an advantage. Like, it's tough, but it's doable now. It's still really important that you don't lose anyone. You need to stop. Like, you just took down Ash. You just took someone down. Anytime you take someone down, it should, like, enter your thought, even if just briefly, of, does it make sense to stabilize? And the answer to this question is yes, by the way. I want your shield up. I do not want you swinging. I want your shield up. You just went down to 72 health. This Lucio should have done less damage to you, and then you'd have adjusted up for the fair, of course. And the reason that this is important is because, again, you're up in this fight, and you're on top of their spawn, so yes, they get people back faster, but you are temporarily up in this fight. If you can maintain it, you can do it. Basically, every person that you lose makes this almost impossibly more difficult to take down. So anytime you take someone down, you want to think about, do I need to stabilize? Your team is going to get you back up. Yes, you're down your Anna, but your Mercy's still around and can help you out. At least I believe she's still around. Yeah, jeez. Oh, maybe she's not. She's not. Okay. So no one's still around. You still need to shield, because you shielding lets you put pressure on the point. And that causes you to survive just a little bit longer here, which ultimately looks like it's probably not going to matter in the long run. Still, conceptually, you wanted to shield earlier.
Group up. Our time runs short. We must increase our efforts. Group up, hit pulse on the target. Move back.
I hear Ryan players complain about lack of Lucio, but it never bothers me that much. Eh.
10 seconds. Огонь по готовности.
Still not a great fire strike. Here you are. They all have a bunch of temporary health. You have 421 HP. You decide to fire strike, and as a result of that fire strike, you're at 260 HP. Does that seem like a good trade? Does it? This is generally what's going to happen when you fire strike in the open like this, and this is why I really don't like them. Fire strikes are good when you can use cover, so like you start your fire strike animation, you peek aim, throw it all at once, and then you unpeek it to protect your unwind animation. Fire strikes are also good when they finish off a target. Perhaps you went swing, swing, cancel the second swing into the fire strike. That can be good. A target's retreating from you and no one else is paying attention to you. Again, finishing off a target. Or finally, through a BAP window. Fire strikes make good sense. Generically in the open, though, fire strikes don't make a lot of sense because you tend to take too much damage in return. Not worth it in terms of what they do, in terms of how much they hurt your ability to then get swings later. You can't cancel your way out of them into shielding like you can with swings. They leave you open for damage. They leave you open for hog hooks, for sleeps, for Rhine pins, for shatters, all sorts of things that we don't like. Isn't pelican a noun? It's a verb. Pelican is definitely a noun. Like that's a type of bird.
Score 0-1.
I believe that nouns are banned from being named in the league. Do you mean proper nouns? Okay. So there's multiple things we could cover so far. Obviously, we've talked about fire strikes. We've talked about measuring your aggression pretty precisely. We've talked about your push timing and measuring that rather precisely, both with the Doomfist push, the push around the corner there, the charge into the into the Rhine before your team was really around the corner for your push timing. We've talked a little bit about shatters. So we've got things. We'll narrow in as we continue here. But Jake is a proper noun. Yeah, I'm just not sure that that's a rule.
3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
No. This is an extremely predictable fire strike. So you go for that predictable fire strike, which is fine. Sorry, I don't mean predictable like it's bad. I mean predictable like you can just expect that they're going to be here. You can okay, so like here, you don't need to peek this early. You know that they're going to be here. I'm good with throwing a fire strike right now. But you should be here pressing the fire strike button to open and throw it here. You shouldn't be here in the open throwing the fire strike. You're in the open the whole time. And you take 100 damage in return. And, you know, that's not the end of the world, but it certainly could have been more. Are you going to push up and punish that or no? No, you're letting them through. Okay. I probably would have liked to push up and punish their rotation. Depends a little bit on where your backline is, which we didn't really check. No, your backline can support it. So, like, when they rotate across like this, you go for your fire strike. Yeah, you can't really get there in time. Okay, that's fair. Can't call yourself Cool Matt 69, but can't call yourself Cool Matt. Yeah, yeah. As someone whose name is Jake, the Jake from State Farm jokes are so annoying. I bet. Good pen. Get the stagger. Why? What is possessing this to be a fire strike rather than a swing? No. Stop it. Swings are better than fire strikes. Are there specific situations where fire strikes are better than swings? Yes. But overall, I generally want you to think to yourself, swings are better than fire strikes. And you might be going, but swings do 85 damage while fire strikes do 100. You can do more swings faster. You see this? You see this? You have the wind-up animation. You have the unwind animation. You still can't swing yet. You still can't swing yet. Now you could hit a second swing, which you're trying to do. You see how slow that fire strike is? We like our swings. We do. And they both cleave. Fire strike is piercing. Swing is, a more lateral type cleave. Swings are great. You can cancel swing into fire strike, though. There you go. Glad you're not Mike every Wednesday. Okay. You can cancel swing into fire strike, and that's good. If you use your fire strike as a finisher, but the unwind on fire strike is pretty long. Okay, you got bubbled, fortunately. Your pin accuracy in general is pretty good. It's part of what's got you here while your fire strikes are a bit messy. Yeah. I mean, you're just under too much pressure. Yeah, you don't really have enough to be doing this, but I understand why. It's not right, but that's fine. If this was last point defense, this would be right, but their situation just isn't good enough for you to shatter here. You're better off holding for seconds. Just think in Overwatch 2, well, there will be double the opportunity for Ryan players to misuse fire strike. I know, that struck me so hard during the promo for it, where they like, you'll be able to do this, and they show him just running across the open, double fire striking, and I'm like, please no, please no. You mostly got to Masters by dueling top 500 Ryans and Pugs? Nice, nice, that's a fun way to do it. I wasn't referring to like, oh, it was specifically like you did pins. I was just referring to everyone's ability to play at a level is made up of them doing some things more right than other things. And like your pins are comparatively better than your fire strikes, for example. You have some things that you're doing well and some things that you're doing less well. And that was more my point. Like, I don't always see pins quite as good as yours from 3400, 3600 Reinhardts. I don't always see pins this good from even low GM Reinhardts, to be perfectly honest. But yeah. And I mean mechanically. I don't mean the timing wise here, and I mean mechanically. And yes, there is a mechanical element to Ryan's pins that people aren't great at. Though it's not all mechanics. There's obviously prediction, it's a projectile, all that. Those players who were playing during the Overwatch 2 PvP demo were hilarious. We reviewed them, and yeah, it looked like they were about silver. I think this is the best Ryan play we've seen all day. Yeah, that's true. Good. Unfortunate. Probably not immediately. You're that worried about the shatter?
Activated.
You canceled your swing before you hit him. I don't know if you're just that scared of shatter or what. And then here, and this should be a step forward into swing, but instead it's a jump back. Yeah, your aggression just needs fine-tuning. You're a little too scared. And then you continue to up back. Like, yes, he's nanoed, but you did still have bubble, which you could have gotten. You missed your first swing opportunity, but you could have gotten your second swing opportunity out of. And now you're nanoed and still going backwards. Oh, it hurts. Good. That was a better fire strike. This was less good. You didn't like wipe this team hard or anything. This is a little dicey because you didn't wipe this team pretty hard. Even if you even if you don't get counter stunned here, like even if you just hit the wall but don't actually get an elimination on the Lucio, like this isn't amazing. You're gonna be out of line of sight of your backline, your team. Your team isn't gonna be able to quickly follow you, and you didn't like hard wipe this team to the point where it's just a full on rout and they're in full retreat, backs to you, just running, etc. Like you beat them, but it's not a rout, and you have to recognize the difference in terms of how silly it lets you be with your aggression. And this wasn't a rout. And your team isn't close enough to follow up on this level of aggression unless this opposing team is just like terrified and going to run from you guys, which they don't have to because they're not losing that badly. There's a few violations of the temporal rules of Reinhardt here. Temporal said they failed and totally needed coaching and were playing the wrong game. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. There are a few violations of the rules, but some of the violations make sense. Like the swing that I was asking for earlier that didn't happen when we had the Anonade, the Mercy, Valk healing, all that stuff. There was the Fire Strike that wasn't in the open here that I was good with. That's not really in the open. That's over it, and he clipped it quite nicely so that the Fire Strike looks like it's going through it, but the center of it didn't cancel. There's some things there that are fine. There's a little bit of shield dancing, which we don't like. You're paraphrasing? Oh, okay. Got it. Good. Now you shatter. It's a long delay. Now you shatter. He didn't have it. Now he does. So dangerous. And it's not a finisher. It's max damage, but it's not a finisher. Yeah, you could have found that shatter quite a bit ago. I talked through it. Yeah, we'll go through it. We're still reasonable on time for what I'm going to spend on this. So, like, here we are. You choose to come out the pit with the pin, which explosively makes space, and you think, hey, you'll probably get a Zarya bubble. You do. That gets us some good information that these guys... Oh my goodness, why are we fire striking into a Storm Arrow? Please stop it. Okay, you come out here. We need to know the bubble status. Boom. We know the first bubble status. We're good. Okay. That Lucio's bubbled. We will knock down the Zarya or the Torb. The Lucio cannot block both of them if we shatter here. And an elimination sounds really good right now, so I'm pretty good with a shatter. Okay. Zarya shouldn't have bubble back yet. Doesn't have bubble back yet. So you could shatter. You have the opportunity to shatter here and knock 2 people down. You have the opportunity to shatter right here. This Torb's not going to be savable. It's close, but he's not going to be savable. Now it's too late. You went for a silly fire strike, which lets Torb shoot you in the head. And now you're stuck. Yeah. And you go for this one, and it's fine, but it's not any better than the previous. It's maybe a little better than the Torb one that you had here that would have put you at a little risk of their Reinhardt messing you up a bit. But it's not better than the previous 2, 3 shatter opportunities that we had. And we'd have liked to get the shatter out earlier because, A, we needed an elimination, but B, we could already be 30% into our next shatter by now, 40%, etc. We review a lot of Rein gameplay here. We do. There's a lot of Rein players here. There's a lot of Rein players that ask for help, that seek help. I think part of what happens is there's a little more on the tanks because, like, the tanks. I think there's a little more on the tanks, especially some of the tanks that aren't like super hugely demanding mechanically. There's absolutely mechanically demanding pieces of Rein's kit, and we talked a little bit about Shatter. You can get some pretty darn good fire strike accuracy too. But I think what you run into is those people recognize that, hey, there must be more to it that they can understand more so than DPS players do. Plus, DPS players get split over a lot more heroes. DPS players, but it's easier for them to fall into a mentality of, oh, well, I can just be more accurate. That must be the key to be better, which it helps. He thinks Blue Rein has Shatter. Maybe. They should have invited the L players to the demo. Well, I mean, they had to carefully watch what the L players said because the L players clearly weren't thrilled about one tank. About 10% of all Rein reviews are, or about 10% of all temporal reviews are Rein reviews. That makes sense. Anna's a close second, also a popular hero. Good stabilize. Good. Sure.
I'm here.
You don't need to shield. You can. I don't mind here. This is one of the few places that I'm okay with you shielding, but you didn't have to yet. The reason I'm okay with him shielding here is it's basically impossible for the enemy team to engage on him, and as long as he recognizes that, and then before they actually get to here, drops back behind this and recharges his shield, I don't mind him spending a little shield when the opposing team is in the beginning of this rotation, because this is actually a very powerful hold. People are starting to catch on to the fact that defensive teams should set up here if they have any level of poke and use it to punish the team trying to rotate across here, but they're still not very consistent about it. At least on ladder. Yeah, you have your DM. Are you going to swing or are you going to say it's a bubble? Okay. Sure. Sure. Shield for a moment, and then you're gonna make a decision, and the decision is swing now. Yeah, that's fine.
Back into the fray.
Hello, Reins are difficult. They are. You could tell when one of the RL players didn't like something because they would talk about how much they like the new weapon sounds. Yeah. Okay. So, unfortunate. We would have liked to pick up the win here, but when it comes to this, the first thing that I'm going to tell you to focus on, and this is the most hidden free improvement, the easiest improvement to make, is to really clean up your fire strikes. You're too willing to fire strike in the open, and if you're going to fire strike in the open, you really have to be aware of exactly who can poke at you in exchange for that fire strike. I would prefer that you just don't fire strike in the open, that you sort of follow the principles of fire strike that I lay out, which are like, hey, hit your fire strike button, peek, throw the fire strike, unhit it, or swing, cancel into the fire strike to finish someone off, or okay, I'm fire striking in the open, but it's through a window where it has one shot potential, so it's worth the potential blowback from them. The risk reward makes sense. But in general, fire strikes in the open don't make sense from a risk reward standpoint, and I would like you to mostly just eliminate them. Now you can slowly work them back in if you get really good at recognizing exactly, you're really tracking where everybody is, and you have a really good feel for who can shoot at you and who can't, but you're definitely not there yet because you are throwing a fire strike at what? Torb and a storm arrowing Hanzo? Absolutely not. Even if you didn't take damage there, that's not correct. You're throwing a fire strike here when there's a Torb who can easily hit a headshot on you for more damage than your fire strike is going to hit, and your fire strike is much easier to dodge as a projectile, and not as a like super fast projectile, it's a pretty big obvious projectile than his left click is. So like, we want to get rid of this because it's going to decrease the damage that you take that you don't need to take, that you're not getting enough value out of. I'm not saying you need to like not ever fire strike. You have to keep your fire strikes in there. They're how you keep pace on your ult. They combine very nicely in the poke phase with other spam to turn into eliminations that lead to pickoffs, that cancel pushes if you're defending, that lead to push opportunities when you're attacking. Like, it's good. It's a good move, but you have to understand the risk reward associated with it, and your best move, your best situation for that is correctly using your cover to protect it. So that's the first thing I want you to work on, and I want you to work on it with like 5 to 15% of your brain power, specifically working on wait, am I fire striking with cover? Am I fire striking as a finisher? Or am I fire striking in the open? And we want to get rid of those open fire strikes unless there's really good payoff, like, hey, I'm finishing someone who's retreating and the fight's late so no one's paying attention to me, or like it's through a window so it's double damage and I can one-shot these people. So the reward is worth the risk of taking 300 damage or whatever for throwing it. That's the first thing I want you to focus on. The next thing I want you to focus on is I do want to fine-tune your aggression a little bit more. You have other areas of your gameplay that we could get to, and your Rhine battles are okay, but I want to fine-tune your aggression a little bit better. In general, you're just a little too on the like, I don't want to swing on passive side, but that's not helpful. What's actually helpful is recognizing these situations when you should. And I laid out examples, and it's hard to do much more than lay out examples, but this here was one of them, where it's like, no, I did want you to go for this swing. Over here, I did want you to go for this swing. You had a couple with Zarya bubbles where I did want you to go for this swing when you were pushing the other Reinhardt. You had another one around here-ish when the other Reinhardt dropped and pushed, and you were coming from here, and it was this box is for the one where you dropped and pushed and then weren't willing to be aggressive enough. But we have another one where he dropped and pushed, and well, there was the drop push one where you did the Rhine dance, which is one thing, but there was another one where you did a push and he was defending, and this is the one that I was talking about where, you know, you went low on armor, you went below armor, but he was purple and had less than 85 health. But then you have another one where he dropped and pushed towards the end, where again, you're scared of him even when you should have bubble available and you're just backing. And then you have time to realize you were bubbled and he's nanoed and you still continue backing. And then you're both nanoed and you're like, and he's grabbed, and you continue backing for a moment before you realize and push. So like, you can fix this by going, hey, you need to recognize when you should be a little more aggressive, but the easier way to do that, maybe you need to pay a little bit more attention to your Zarya bubbles, but not just pay attention to them, pay attention to them in an expectant way. You need to be tracking Zarya's cooldown, and you need to expect that you're going to get it. You're not working with silver Zaryas who, whoops, whatever, they just forget to bubble you or something like that. You're going to get the bubbles, unless they get yoinked by someone else for something important. You're going to. That's just how it's going to work at high diamond, low masters gameplays. And they will get yoinked by other important things. Like a support that is, you know, getting pulse bombed, or a support that has a Tracer Genji dive on them, or your Doomfist going in will absolutely yoink bubbles. And your solution to that is you track your Zarya's cooldown, you pay attention for other things that might yoink intentionally your Zarya's cooldown, and you intentionally engage hard right as your Zarya's cooldown comes up. And if you haven't seen or don't believe that your Zarya's cooldown should have been spent on anything else, you expect that you're going to get it. You go up there for that aggressive swing or two. And if after 2 swings or, 1.5 swings, you didn't get the bubble, yeah, I guess you're going to have to back. And if you then get bubbled, it sucks. But you do need to sort of be expecting that you're going to get that. We do need to tune you a little bit more on the aggressive side. And we're specifically wanting to do that around resources that you're either getting or potentially expecting to be getting, because there's not quite enough in it. We see you're a little too passive. Yes, you had the one over aggressive thing up here that got you into trouble, but on balance, you're a little too, oh no, don't quite want to do it. And maybe that's because you're trying to bait out shatters. That's what you told me it was on this one. I don't particularly like that, whatever. But in general, we see you're missing real pressure opportunities. And I'm not talking like 500 damage pressure opportunities. I'm talking like double swing pressure opportunities, single swing pressure opportunities. But these single and double swings absolutely add up, not just over the course of a match, but even in the team fight in terms of overwhelming their support, their resources, what they have available there. So it's a fine-tuned thing that I'm talking about here. I hope I gave you enough examples to see what I'm talking about, to recognize, hey, what you should be able to expect to happen with the resources on the board. But you absolutely do need to be tracking the resources on the board as a high-level Reinhardt. That's how it works. So yeah, that's the second thing I'd give you. The third thing that I'd give you is I do want you to pay, it's not like you're terrible at this or anything, but I want you to pay just a little bit more attention to your push timings. Like up here, I want you to stabilize before you push in because, turns out your team is down here. On here, I want you to recognize that your Doomfist is going, you need to use this push opportunity. You need to use it for something. I want you here to delay like half a second to second based on where you've calculated your team is, your push, rather than push out of line of sight of your Ana while your Genji is still back here, while your Doomfist has just used his cooldown to take the high ground and isn't ready to go in yet type thing. So a little bit more to just get a little bit tighter on your push timings for being synchronized with your team there. Just a little bit more of a check of either where they are or a calculation of where they are, because you've generally got the information, or at least I have the information even without wall hacks most of the time. I could tell you, for example, here that your team wasn't quite ready. I could tell you, for example, here without looking around that it was just you and Zarya that went up, that the rest of your team wasn't really in yet type thing, and it's causing your push to be off by about 3/4 of a second. And that's serious business. 3/4 of a second matters. And if you can make that a little bit tighter more consistently, that's going to turn more of your pushes successful. So I hope that helps. I do want you to work through each of those one at a time with 5 to 15% of your brain power. Specifically try to get them implemented, work on them one at a time. Once you feel like it's implemented, once you feel like you've made some meaningful level up there, then you can move on to the next thing once it's really stuck in your autopilot there. If you have any questions about any of that, or if anyone has questions, they can throw them up now. If you guys are enjoying the content, please do like and subscribe, as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate that. Or if you are looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, all that good stuff. Okay, let me catch up on chat here. Okay. I didn't know you reviewed them. We did. It was fun. I feel like I can relax as a defending tanks once their main heals are eliminated. I mean, you can look to stabilize more often. I don't know if you relax. I mean, we've seen on Volskaya 5v6 attack pushes work when they're missing their Ana type things. On point B, 2CP, we've seen 5v6 Volskayas win when your Anna's already eliminated and you're going in with your Brawl comp with just a Lucio that sustains with beat and your team wins. I guess people who pay for reviews are more likely to suck it up and play Ryan and Anna. Some of it is paid reviews, but even in the like freebie metrics that we do, people who are seeking reviews in general, I think find themselves a little bit disproportionately playing tank and support. Mercy is number 3, then McCree. McCree was so hard meta for so long there. Lots of frustrated Ryan peelers feeling stuck and desperate for help. Carolina says hello. Rhines are difficult. Nice spots. Okay, Temporal, could you do more macro concept videos in the future? I notice lots of micro when watching your vids because most of them are VOD reviews, but then I go to other YouTubers, for example, for macro, example, Nader. Yeah, I can do more macro stuff. I've sort of been on my... I was a little light on the time I was putting in for, we'll say, the last month or so. But yeah, I will be looking to do some more macro stuff. It's actually more work to do macro stuff, which is fine. I'll still do them. It's a little more work. Like I can just be like, okay, let me do the bread and butter. Let me get VOD reviews out. Macro stuff is just a little more challenging because how do I want to put this? Like, which concepts do you want to cover? How do you want to cover them? What do you want to use as an example? Are you just going to talk through them? I like macro. I actually like macro more, and I like doing macro. So yeah, I can do some more macro. I guess I don't need to go further into that. I think macro stuff is easier with the team VOD. You do see me cover macro stuff more often when I'm doing team stuff. Yes, if you watch any of my team reviews, you are more likely to see me talk about, okay, this is how Double Bubble looks to engage with a primary versus secondary engage type thing. You will see me more likely to go, you are playing for ults pretty frequently with this comp. You will see me get more into, okay, well, this is what you need to do. You need to use your cooldowns to force other cooldowns to turn your small lead into a bigger and bigger lead. You use your ice wall to force their lamp, and then and then they use their ice wall and they get your lamp, but you had a small advantage and you're able to exploit that, and you're able to use that to get their ice block and diva boosters sooner than they get your ice block and diva boosters. And from there you have a big enough advantage that you just win the fight, or from there you have a big enough advantage that your McCree can go in hard. I'm talking macro concepts here, obviously, but yeah. But I think you'd have good inside information on macro to make dedicated videos about. I mean, I had the best macro videos in the business back when I did them. I'm talking 2 years ago at this point. If you look at the stuff in my playlist that is composition, something along those lines, like the first 20 videos or whatever I have in there, maybe 12, I don't remember. Probably closer to 20, were from, like 2 years ago. And that was mostly before I was doing contenders coaching, and then some while I was doing contenders coaching, but not as much. And those were the best macro stuff out there, like period. Not it is okay macro stuff. I'll put it that way. Depends on review length, I think. Could be outside the context of a VOD review, like a lesson video plus clips from VODs, for examples. Need to rewatch this, came too late. That's fine. Watch it with both eyes. Ha! For one eye there. Double funny because I now have one eye closed on pillow. Okay. Time zones. James says, when I was a Silver Zarya, I had one rule for bubbles. Is my bubble available? If so, bubble. There's a little more to it than that. Need to feed. Great video. Thanks for being here. No problem. Joshua Wood says, I don't recognize that name a ton. I think we've maybe seen you maybe once or twice before, but good to have you here. Question general, if it is okay, it's perfectly fine, about throwing fire strikes and harmless spam at spawn doors. Does it make sense to not do it? It just charges their support ults, which might be better than a Hanzo ult. No. So I do not subscribe to that philosophy. I know some people early in Overwatch's career subscribe to a philosophy of stop using your fire strikes once you have your shatter. You're just charging support ults. That philosophy is long dead from anyone who knows what they're doing. And the reason that that philosophy is long dead and that I never subscribe to it is because you need Fire Strike is good for combining with other things. Fire Strike plus TNT, Fire Strike plus a Junkrat mine, Fire Strike plus a Hanzo body shot, Fire Strike plus an Ashe headshot, body shot, whatever, to combine with other things in ways you might not specifically be planning, but if you're all shooting at the other team, it happens to combine in ways that leads to eliminations, which cancels team fights or just wins you team fights, however you want to think about that. So like that's important, and regardless of the fact that you have their ult and their support doesn't have their ult, you want to keep pushing for that. The other thing that it does is, let's say you're the defending team and you have shatter and you're up here and your team is also set up here. Maybe you have someone up here and the other team is having to advance from here. I'm not going to stop shooting at you just because you don't have your support ults yet, but we have our ults. And the reason for that is I want to drain your resources. I want to break your Rhine shield. I want to force your fortify. I want to get DM out of you. I want Anna to freak out and use her nade. I want Bap to freak out and use his shift, because if they don't do these things, they'll lose someone. If I don't do those things because, you guys don't have support ults yet and I don't want to give them to you, I'm letting you rotate from here to here for free. And that's a terrible idea. I would way rather put the pressure on you to make it harder for you to rotate, to force cooldowns, to threaten eliminations, to actually get eliminations, all those sorts of things. That era of people thinking like that is long since over. That was very early in Overwatch's career that people thought about the fire strikes like that and thought about poke damage and spam in general like that. And no one should be telling you that anymore. Like the community with any serious coaching resources is past that. I know coaching resources that would have been considered top tier back in the day used to say that, but that was never right. Should you really fire strike if you have shatter and the target is not low? Yes, for the reasons I said. Because again, you can't be like, oh, well, now I'm going to fire strike because they're low, because healing comes too quickly. You don't know exactly what you're going to combine with when you fire strike. Like, it's not always your fire strike is planned around a Holt and everyone knows to spam right as the Holt gets pulled. Like, yes, that helps. That's very nice for that sort of thing. But not every comp has a Holt or a pile drive that is the big, obvious, this is the moment when we all contribute. We want to be contributing more frequently than we can Holt if we have that option, for example. So, like, you don't know, you throw the fire strike in there, and as you threw the fire strike in there, it just so happened that one of the Junkrat nades ricocheted, and boom, now you have an elimination. Whereas if you hadn't fire striked, you wouldn't have had that elimination. And if you had fire striked, in reaction to it, it wouldn't have mattered because Anna, Bap, whoever would have been able to heal people up enough in the time that you reacted to the nade hitting them. Like, the pressure is important. You can't just let people, like, map control is, so here's the thing. If you think ults are the most important thing in the world, you might think like that, but the reality is when you get into it, map control, probably after map control, numbers, and then ults. That's probably how you want to think about it in terms of importance in Overwatch. Map control, number of players, ults is probably the importance in Overwatch of things. Now, you can use enough ults to overcome a number advantage. You can have enough numbers to overcome a map control advantage. You can use enough ults to overcome a map control advantage, but generally speaking, this is how I would tier list them. Can you charge SB at the moment they fire strike? Can you charge SB? SB, what does SB mean there? Can you animation cancel left to right swinging too? Yeah, you can animation cancel left to right swinging. You can go right to left. You can animation cancel it into a shield, or you can animation cancel left to right swing. So if you went like, hey, what are you asking there? Can you animation cancel left to right swing? Yeah, if you're swinging like that, you're swinging from here to here, you could at this point, whatever, you can animation cancel it whenever you want into either shielding or a fire strike. Anton says, I think I saw your early macro vids when I discovered your channel, but skipped over them because I was scared things would be outdated because the game has changed a lot. The game has changed a lot. They hold up pretty well, but there's absolutely things that have changed a lot, so that's fair. But maybe not enough to change the macro concepts. Also, which DPS hero is my favorite? Let me think for a second about that. Favorite DPS hero? Probably Tracer. Yeah. Probably Tracer. Ashe is fun. Pharah's fun. Sombra's fun. McCree's alright. May's alright. Yeah, probably Tracer. I still heard about Firestrike charging ults. It makes you having Shatter predictable too. Right. If you stop Firestriking when you have that, it also makes that you have Shatter predictable. Yeah, I typed that without seeing Joshua type that. All good. All good. On payload defense, are my Rhines feeding when they walk into line of sight of enemy spawn to fire strike the enemy walking out of spawn? No, because they should be throwing their fire strike and then getting out. They should be throwing fire strike. They can throw their fire strike before the spawn doors actually open. There's an open animation to the spawn doors, and they can throw their fire strike before those spawn doors are open. And then there's fire strike has travel time. So no, that's a perfectly good Reinhardt thing to do. Can you charge opposing Rein at second fire strikes? Yeah, point blank range, absolutely. If you charge a Reinhardt, even in reaction to him starting his Fire Strike, when you're already in his face, you can absolutely charge him and he can't cancel out of Fire Strike to countercharge you. Yes, you can absolutely punish someone Fire Striking with a charge. If they have any distance from you, you can't really do it. But if they're on top of you, like if you had, for example, one Reinhardt was here, one Reinhardt was here, and they were both trying to use this corner to fire strike, that would be a problem because the other Reinhardt has a short enough distance to pin them, hopefully onto here, hopefully not back onto here, to punish the fire strike there. Tracer's your main hero. Thanks for validating me. Okay, glad it worked out. Arena FPS Quake dual vibes from Tracer. No problem. And then Carolina says, thanks so much. Okay, I think that's going to do it. If you guys are enjoying the content, again, please do like and subscribe as that helps out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. I will keep the request for more macro stuff in mind. I do plan to do a bit more of that, but I wouldn't expect that this week. Yeah. And do remember, if you guys like this content and you're like, hey, I want to catch this content live, I want to be able to ask temporal questions, or I want to be here to be part of the discussion when Temporal does other things like review guides or like, cover news, things like that. You can in the Discord become a watcher by going to the Get Notifications channel. And in there, you can react to become a watcher, and then you'll get pings when we go live. So you can see what topic we're covering, what hero, what level, what guide, whatever we're covering. And you go, yeah, I want to be here to be part of that discussion. Okay. That's going to do it. Thanks, guys. Temporal.